Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Odd Tandem. Our guest today has won stages in all three Grand Tours. He won the overall Giro d'Italia in 2017. He's been the world time trial champion as well as two-time Olympic silver medalist in the time trial. With a mountain of success over the years, one would think all was fine and dandy. But then suddenly, out of the blue, he decided that he needed to take a break from cycling to sort a couple things out. And Yenzi, after the talk that we had with him just now, I think he's well on his way to sorting things out. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It was because he was the first high-profile athlete of our sport to take a break and talking about, hey, I felt the pressure. I didn't like it. And to see him now, he's still smiling at it and goes, yeah, I didn't like this thing I loved before. I started to hate it. So I needed some distance from it. To share that with us and the way he came back, it's nice to see him that he found his happy place in life.
So sit back and relax and listen to our great interview with Tom Dumoulin. All right, everybody. Special guest today, Tom Dumoulin. Welcome to The Odd Tandem.
Thank you.
I have to say, we have this little draft board, little list of people, and you've been on that list for a very, very long time. I mean, our careers didn't really, I didn't race with you. I was already well retired by the time you started racing, but I'm super excited about today. You've always been a very interesting rider, in my opinion. I always like big guys that could climb and time trial, and you did very well at both of those things. So we do this little thing with a couple questions just to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, little quick fire things. So you game for a little 4-question quick fire episode?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. Nowadays, preferred activity, a bike ride or a run?
A run.
Okay. Favorite Grand Tour, Giro, Tour of Vuelta?
Tour de France.
Okay. And these days, when you're out there running or biking, do you prefer to fuel with Haribo gummy bears or like gels?
Nothing. Just ride. I just go short enough to not eat.
That's a great idea. That's smart. Okay, last one, because quite interested to hear your response here. Do you prefer, or did you prefer, training with a power meter or just on sensations?
Sensations.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't think you would answer that. You kind of came off to me as being a very cerebral, scientific guy. So yeah, tell us why you would choose the sensations over power. Were you not like a numbers guy?
No, I really wasn't actually. Yeah, I was really going on feeling a lot of the time. I was very interested in all the data and all the scientific things behind it, but I would always have my feeling lead me. So eventually, at the race, my feeling would be the starting and the end. And I would have the data help me a little bit, but mostly in training and not really in racing. In racing, my job, my goal, my ambition was to be as fast and as good as possible, and then the data wouldn't really help me. So in the races, I didn't use it very much. Yeah, only in time trials, and then only in the first, let's say 10 minutes to get my pacing slightly right, to make sure that you don't start way too fast because of the adrenaline and not to start too slow. So I would have a little bit of a help with the data and my time trials, but after that I would just go on feeling. Yeah.
That is actually quite unusual, especially in these days. We had not too long ago, we had Josh Tarling, a really good time trialer. And he was talking, I think, at least twice about pacing, or 3 times, pacing strategy. So nowadays they go, hey, Josh Tarling's a big boy. So, hey, Josh, you go 460 watts up this little highway bridge. and then you recover with 350 watts, and then on the flats 420 watts. So you would never really be too much into that.
Well, I would make that plan beforehand. So together with my trainer, I would make a plan like that, but then it would go out of the window because, well, not completely out of the window, but I would use it in the back of my mind as sort of a benchmark. Like, okay, this is something I would like to do, but I would not look too much to my power data. No, I would always go on feeling and use the data only as a small help during the race. But I think if you prepare well, then you don't really need the data at the moment itself, because you need it a little bit, but not too much. Yeah.
And you started off in a pretty small team, and you ended your career on probably the biggest team that we've seen.
Yeah.
What were some of the differences between when you started and when you ended, both positive and negative?
Oh, it was huge. No, the difference couldn't be bigger. But I think it's not only the difference in teams, but mostly different in 12 years, The world of cycling changed so much from when I started my career and when I ended my career. It was just more like data driven, more scientific, more specialized in all aspects of the sport, in nutrition and training, in mental coaching, in everything. It was just perfected. But for me, it took a little bit the adventure feeling away that I had in the sport, and a little bit the joy that I had in the sport, because it got to be so clean. Like, okay, you just eat this and you train this, and then you get this end result, And for me, it doesn't work like that, and it didn't work like that. And that was the biggest change that I had been experiencing throughout my career. But that didn't really have to do so much with difference in teams, but more so the change in sport.
When we already talked about the teams, I know it's a big jump, but let's move backwards another 15 years earlier. When and how did you actually get in touch with cycling? How do you start? Your parents, your older brother, or whatever friends of you got you into cycling, or how do you get into it? I mean, it's common in Holland to use a bike on a daily basis, right? To ride to school and all that. But when did you ever found out that you have some interest in like racing with the license?
Yeah, it's very common to use a bike as a transportation in the Netherlands, but not so common to use it as a sports thing, So it was a complete coincidence that I started riding. Actually, I always had a good condition, so I could run really fast. So I tried athletics, but I needed to do every sport. I needed to do jumping, I needed to do high jump and spear throwing and stuff like that, and I didn't like that, so I only wanted to run, but it wasn't possible at the athletic club that I went to. And then I thought, let's try a different sport that focuses on physical condition, which was cycling for me.
What age?
15. So just by coincidence, I went to the club and I asked I want to try this thing called cycling, and I know nothing about it. My parents didn't do it. My sisters didn't do it. None of my friends. I went there and I thought, maybe this is something for me. And I started riding, and I wasn't very good, but I liked it. And I saw it as a pure hobby that I did twice a week, like a lot of kids go twice a week to the football club. I went twice a week to the cycling club, but other than that, it was not really with my mind on being a professional rider or something. That started only when I was like 18, 19. I got progressively better every year, and I enjoyed it more every year, and every year I got more ambitious. And then suddenly the national team invited me to go on club training or on national training with the national team. And then I was suddenly very good. I won all the hill sprints that we did in the training, and I could tag along for one Nations Cup race. So the international Nations Cup race that you do as an under 23 rider, and I went there. I didn't even have it was a multiple day event, so a stage race of 3 stages, of which one was a time trial. But I never did a time trial in my life, not on a TT bike. I didn't even have a TT bike at the time, so I borrowed one of my friend of the same cycling club I was in the Netherlands, and then I raced the time trial and I won it in front of Nelson Oliveira, and Nairo Quintana was there, and many of the guys that I also became professional with. And I was sort of this new kid that nobody heard of, and I won the time trial and I won the GC, and then the ball started rolling, and the professional teams got interested, but it was really not really my goal of becoming a professional rider now.
I want to go back and touch on something that you said about, the way the sport had changed wasn't quite the way that you wanted to do it. And why I'm so excited that you're on the podcast today is, like I said, I was a huge fan of yours. And then it just seemed like all of a sudden there was, it seemed like a conflict, and you actually wound up taking like some time away from the sport. Can you explain a little bit about that decision to take that time away and what you did during that time in order to kind of, rekindle the flames and get started again?
Do you have a minute?
We have all the time you want. This is
right.
like, this is what I want to hear.
No. Well, I became professional in 2012, and it was all a big adventure, It was all fun and games, and like I said, I didn't really aim to become a professional rider. It was not really my big childhood dream. I just became one suddenly, and then so it was just a big adventure, and I wanted to become better, and I got better and better, and I had a lot of talent for it, and I liked it, and but then it became suddenly in 2015 I almost won the Vuelta until I lost it on the last day, and then I went on to become second at the Olympics. I won the Giro d'Italia. I became world champion time trial, and it was sort of my career went faster than I mentally could cope with. I suddenly I didn't know how to deal with the pressure or all. Well, the team wanted something from me. The sponsors had an idea about my career. The fans, everybody had an idea of becoming even better. And then suddenly the thing that was my dream became the dream of many. And I found it very hard to cope with that. And then the years after, I struggled with that. Until in 2020, I made the move to Jumbo-Visma, which was a big move, and they reeled me in like I was the big Dutch rider who was going to win the Tour de France for them. And I quickly found out that I felt like there was a weight on my shoulders, and I couldn't handle the training anymore, and I couldn't handle the pressure and everything anymore. And at the end of 2020, Corona year, so we had, at the end of that season, we had all the races compromised in a couple of months. So with only limited amount of preparation, we needed to do all these races, and with being already mentally on the edge, I completely drained myself, and I was just mentally and physically, I was completely drained at the end of 2020. So in the beginning of 2021, I tried to restart my training again, but I felt completely drained. I couldn't even ride my bike for 2 hours, and I was just a wreck. So I decided to to stop and to take a break, not even with the intention of coming back. But then I had a break of like 2 months. I didn't ride my bike for 2 months, from mid-February, I think. No, end of January until end of March. And then at the end of March, I felt physically slightly better again. I felt mentally much fresher. And I knew the Olympics were going to be that year in Tokyo. And they were on my mind already for 4 or 5 years, actually, because they got postponed 1 year because of a corona. And it was the ideal course for me, the time trial course. It was just perfect. And I had this goal in my mind already for 4 or 5 years. And then I decided at the end of March, with no training at all, I decided I need to try this. I need to go to Tokyo and try this. And if it doesn't work out, so be it. But then at least I tried it. And I called the national coach, and I said, sorry, Koos. Koos is his name, Koos Moerenhout, also ex-professional. And I said, Koos, I haven't rode my bike yet, but I really want to go to Tokyo. And I knew the selection had to be made that month already. So I had all my faith in his hands, and he said, okay, Tom, there's only one time trial specialist in the Netherlands who could potentially have a shot for a medal, and that's you. So I'm going to select you. And that's all the trust that I needed. And then I worked as hard as I could, which wasn't very hard because I was physically and mentally still not 100% yet, but I worked as hard as I could, and then I got the silver in Tokyo, which was one of the nicest performances that I had throughout my career. And that was actually the sole reason that I really wanted to come back to chase this dream of maybe becoming an Olympic champion, or to at least get a medal. But yeah, I found out after Tokyo again. Then I also said to the team leading up to Tokyo, because the years before I felt so much pressure from the team, not only from the team but everyone around them, not with bad intentions, but I felt a lot of pressure. And I said, let me do it my way, on feeling again. Forget all the data, forget all the I need to do this on feeling. I'm still coming back from burnout or overtraining, and that's what I did. I did it completely on feeling. The whole preparation. When I felt tired, I took a step back. And it felt like this dream was mine again. It was not the dream of many. It was my dream, and I felt from the inside that it was very special. And that's sort of the story around me having this break.
I always say that cyclists are so darn tough, but what you just shared with us, our viewers and our listeners, about that mental side is crazy powerful. When we're not supposed to talk about this mental side of the sport, right? We're all supposed to be these tough guys that go out and win bike races. When you took that time off, I saw some adventures that you went on. You went to the Himalayas, you went to Costa Rica, you kind of went all over the place with, what was that about? Was that trying to kind of sort things out in your head, or was it like, hey, I still love the bike, I just want to enjoy it in a different way?
No, but the Himalayas and Costa Rica I did when I really retired, so 2 years ago. Now I went to Sweden to watch the, how do you say it, the Northern Lights when I was having this break. So it was beautiful, but no, it was different from the things that I did after my career. Yeah, that was also to clear my mind and to do completely different things. But it was during this break, it was really with the I didn't have an intention at all. I didn't know if I was going to come back to cycling, yes or no. So I went off to clear my head and to see if I would still love riding my bike. And actually the thing that triggered me to really come back was mid of April 2021 when the Amstel Gold Race was. Because the Amstel Gold Race always, well, like I said, as a child, I had nothing to do with cycling. My family had nothing to do with cycling. The only race that I watched once a year was the Amstel Gold Race, because the finish of the Amstel Gold Race was really close to my home in Maastricht, in the very south of the Netherlands. And that triggered me to get into cycling when I was a 15-year-old kid. And it triggered me again when I had this break away from cycling in 2021. I went as a spectator to watch the Amstel Gold Race, and I was there and I watched all the buses at the start and all the riders and warming up and doing their thing and watching the race and the final, and I thought, wow, this is beautiful. This is what I had been doing for many, many years, and I lost the fun out of it, or in it. But this is beautiful. I mean, I need to do this again. This is not over yet. So the Amstel Gold Race is a very special thing for me.
And when you went to your trip up to Sweden, did you made all that decisions or declaring your mind by yourself? You took a friend or a girlfriend or partner, or you had a proper professional to talk to, or you just used your own head?
I think over time, during my time in Sweden, but also my time just at home, enjoying time at home with my dog, and I think it was mostly me, just me thinking and dreaming about the Olympics again. Yeah.
What dog you have?
A white shepherd, big white shepherd.
These American Canadian white shepherds.
Yeah, so sort of the same. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Swiss white shepherd or Canadian white shepherd. Yeah.
Lovely.
Charlie.
So, if I was to take 2 months off to figure some stuff out, I think I would probably gain 10 kilos. But but you were able to come back from that pretty quickly. Like you said, from the couch to the podium on the Olympics. I've seen a little bit on your social media, and then our buddy Carson Krohn says you do a lot of running. And was looking at some of your running times. Were you actually running during that time, or was it an absolute, complete, and total physical reset?
Yeah, a completely physical reset. Yeah. But I think I was just completely overtrained when I took this break. So I think my body also, what my body needed was only time to heal, all the training was in there. So I think it needed that time, that period of 2 months to even recover from all the stress and the physical and mental stress from the years before. So although I didn't ride my bike, I think my body was still getting better over time by doing nothing, So, but I definitely needed those months again, those 3 months that I still had after my decision to come back to Tokyo. I still needed those 3 months to get back at some sort of competitive level. And I wasn't at my best physical level I was ever in Tokyo, but still good enough to win silver. So quite all right.
So now that you retired for good, you still follow cycling? You still watch all the races? You're a commentator yourself, right? With Dutch TV, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So when I retired, so Tokyo happened. Then 1 year later, I retired. I found out that I needed my freedom. I was just looking for freedom. I was looking to adventure, and I couldn't find it in professional cycling anymore. It wasn't for me anymore, and I reached. I got everything out of the cycling world that I wanted. I think out of my professional career, I had great results and I had a great time. And for me, it was time to move on. And then I went to Costa Rica. I went to the Himalayas. I went to do all fun things. And I took a big step back from cycling. I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch the news. I didn't watch the results. Nothing. And then from that period I sort of got stimulated again, like, but this bike thing, I just love it, you know. I hated it for a while, but I love it again, and I want to try if there's something there for me still in this beautiful cycling world. And I gave my retirement party in December 2022. I invited all my friends and relatives in the cycling world, and I was there with, I think, 150 people, all from the cycling world. And then I found out, like, wow, what a cool bunch of of people, you know. And then I felt, okay, this is still for me. And now I'm working as an ambassador for Giant. I work for the Dutch TV, NOS, as an analyst and commentator. And now I follow a lot again. So yeah, I love it again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think we all, regardless of those mini breaks that we take, we're always gonna be attracted again to riding bikes, because I mean, I think that's just inherently inside of us. But now that you're a commentator, you know, you won Grand Tours, Olympic medals, world championships. Like you said, you were on the cutting edge of this sport. What do you see with this younger generation that you just appreciate the most? Because let's face it, the racing that we're seeing these days is at a totally different level than I was racing back in 2008. And, you know, has just gotten better and better. But what are those things that just kind of have you scratching your head?
Yeah, they're flying nowadays. With my level in 2017, I would not have won the Giro d'Italia nowadays. So they made a big step up again, and I think it's due to professionalism in training and nutrition, for example. Especially nutrition, I think they made a big step forward. Actually, the whole peloton, but the fun thing is that even though all those teams are getting more and more professional, and all the riders have access to all this information and all this data and stuff like that, still the racing the last couple of years has been more and more exciting. Actually, we've seen so many attacks from far away. We've seen boldy moves. We've seen everything, actually, and especially some of the guys like Pogacar and Mathieu van der Poel, and I mean, it gets you to the tip of your seat. You know, how do you say this in English? It's just exciting to watch. So it's super professional, but still really fun to watch the last couple of years.
And it seems like that most of the races, or all the big races, are won by like 3, maybe 4 teams, and maybe 6 different riders.
Yeah.
Why do you think is that? The same reasons, more professional, or they got bigger budgets, they buy better teammates to help them?
I think if you, I couldn't talk for all teams, but if you for example zoom into Visma Lease Bike, the previous Jumbo Visma, I think they started with being very professional on all aspects of the sport. So like I said, mental coaching, training, nutrition, materials, everything. They're making big steps forward, and that attracts also good riders, and good riders need money, and it takes the sponsors with them. So they started with quite a small budget like 10 years ago, but now they have one of the biggest budgets, maybe even the biggest budget. I think it's UAE, but in professional cycling. So it's not only about money, but it has more to do with the professionalism that these big teams show, and it takes all the other teams also with them. I mean, last year and 2 years ago, you saw that Jumbo-Visma or Visma Lease Bike, they were actually on top by a big margin, and now they're not anymore. Actually, UAE is maybe even better this year than they are. So I think in time it will evolve to being to more teams being more competitive, hopefully. But what do you guys actually think about like a budget cap or something, or like in the NBA or I think it's difficult because now some of the big teams have all the money and they buy big riders and they have all the money to spend on materials and data science and everything.
Yeah, do the wind tunnel testing, the altitude training camps, to send masseurs and team doctor to the altitude camps. Yeah, we had that a few times, the talk. We had Kim Andersen, sport director of Lidl Trek before. And a lot of people, we just have to find a fair or clear way for some sort of salary cap. Because just like whatever, in soccer in Germany, we got like 3 or 4 teams with more money. They dominate everything in the British Soccer League. And it's going that way a little bit, right? Because UAE, good for them, but they seem to have an almost unlimited budget, right? I mean, my first team in '98, I know it's a long time ago, I think we had like a 4, maybe 5 million budget for the entire team.
Yeah.
That is Jonas Vingegaard's or Pogacar's salary. Just one rider. We had an entire team for that money, you know? So money can buy, to a large extent, money can buy success. So I think that it would be good to don't lose these so-called smaller teams. I hate to say that because they're not small. They just have less of a budget, but they still work hard. They're still a respectable professional team. So to don't drop them and their sponsors go, why should I even give you 5 or 10 million if I only finish 15th in the Tour for that much money, you know? So I think we should consider that, right, Bobby? What's your point on this?
Yeah, you mentioned it with Kim Anderson when he came on. I kind of agree with what he said, where there should be, you can have whatever budget you want for the team, but there should be a cap on the rider's salaries. So he used an example of, hey, if a guy gets 6 million, that's fine, but then you just have less for the rest of your riders. I think that's definitely something that needs to be discussed, because it's kind of crazy looking at the arsenal of champion riders that are kind of all stacked into one team, and we just need to spread that around a little bit, and that's already happening. Julian Alaphilippe and Mark Hirschi are changing, from their teams to a smaller Swiss team, Tudor, with Fabian Cancellara. So maybe it will be adjusting itself a little bit.
I heard a great idea from Marco Pinotti. I was talking to him in the Tour de France in Italy this year, and he said, actually, you have all these points in the World Tour points. Every rider gets points for every race. And you just need every race and every team, they need to have this maximum points in their team. So you go to the Tour de France with 8 riders and you can only have like maximum, let's say, 100 points. And if you take one rider who has 60 points, you can only have 40 points for the other 7, and then you divide. You can choose one big leader, Pogacar, let's say, but then you have seven. Worse is bad name, but yeah, 7 not so good riders. I mean, now you have Pogacar, you have Almeida, you have who do you
Adam
have?
Yates,
Adam
Ayuso,
Yates,
yep.
Ayuso, and he's almost unbeatable. But if you have Pogacar with 7 riders who are not world class, then you get a fun race, you know. So that could also be. I thought it was a nice idea.
But to like take it a little step further. Imagine Alpecin de König go, okay, then I think we only send Jasper Philipsen and Mathieu van der Poel and nobody else. So we save the points from the other riders and just go with 2 riders and the both gonna win stages.
That's not possible. That's not possible. But you can take
Exactly.
6 other riders who almost didn't get any World Tour points. You know, that's possible. So
Good old Marco. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. You wrote a book with
Nando Boers. Yeah.
Nando Boers.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Because, you know, Jens, you've written a couple books, and I've talked to people that have written books, and it seems to be you could go down a rabbit hole pretty easily. So what was your experience like writing your book?
For me, it was nothing to do about going down a rabbit hole. For me, it was actually a very beautiful experience to be writing this book together with Nando. Actually, we made 3 trips to places that were important to my career. So we went to Italy because I wanted Giro, of course. We went to Bergen in Norway, where I became world champion, and we went to Andorra, where I won the mountain stage in the Tour de France in 2016. So we visited those places to bring back memories and to talk along the way about my career and stuff like that. And I couldn't have imagined that it was this almost therapeutic trip that it became. I mean, it was very special, and it was very special and sometimes emotional to be at the places that were so important to my career, because we went to these places because they had a nice and beautiful memory for me. But along the way, we came across the downhill where I crashed in 2012 in the Vuelta nobody knows about. But I ripped open my belly, crashing into the barriers in a downhill, and it was horrible, and there was blood everywhere, and I crashed down the mountain, and I climbed back up, and everything was red. You know, it was just a horrible memory. And while we were riding the route of me winning the stage in 2016 on Andorra Arcalis, we came by this place that I crashed, and completely unexpected. I didn't expect. I forgot about it, to be honest, and I suddenly realized it. And there were quite a couple of these moments during our trips. Like I said, beautiful, but also very emotional. And for me, it was it was very special to be writing this book together with Nando.
And do you have any plans of it coming out in English anytime soon?
I do, actually, but we still need to find a publisher.
All right.
No, but it's out in Dutch and it's coming out in German. But I hope it will be published in English too. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been my next question as well. And so just if it comes out in English, what could we expect? Like your entire career, your childhood, just the highlights, or 2 years of your career, or what can we expect? Some private stories about your whatever childhood or about your parents?
Well, also, yes, it's going to be quite personal, but I'm taking the reader with me along the way throughout my career. And of course, the stories of me as a kid not cycling and just doing other things, and suddenly by coincidence getting into cycling, you know, those stories, of course, they there in the book, but it's mostly about me reflecting on my career, on the beautiful moments, but like I said, definitely on the emotional and hard and difficult moments that I had, especially me being this adventurous boy coming into this sport that wasn't really mine, which I felt like a stranger sometimes. But me finding my way into the sport, getting better, getting more ambitious, and then also experiencing that suddenly I found the thing that I loved. I started to dislike or even hate at one point the bike and the cycling world. And why is that? And why did I feel that way? And how did I overcome it as well? And how do I look back at it now? And it, yeah, we like I said, we made all these trips and we had a lot of talks about my career, and yeah, I'm actually very happy with how the book came out. And it's not, yeah, sometimes it was difficult, but at the end, I think it's a very honest book about me, but also about the cycling world in general. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for that. And any of our viewers or listeners that know a publishing house, let's make this happen for old Tom here. Just a kind of random question, because, you know, like I said, I never raced with you, but I always had a lot of respect for you, and it's growing by the minute here listening to you on this podcast. But who was a rider that you respected the most during your racing days?
Ooh, good question. Good question. I know an answer who I respect a lot now, actually, and that's Mathieu van der Poel. He's Dutch, so easy choice, but no, no. But Mathieu seems to be finding the ideal way between using all the data, all the professionalism, all the science that has taken over cycling. He's using that to his advantage and still being able to enjoy the fun of it, you know, to go out and attack at a moment nobody expects him to, or to complete rest after the classics, to say, okay, I put my phone away for 2 weeks, I go golfing now, and it's I think it's beautiful to see, and it's actually not only Mathieu van der Poel, but it's also Pogacar. He seems to be, the sport is evolving in such a professional way that sometimes I think, oh, they're all robots. And then I look at Mathieu van der Poel and I look at Pogacar and I think, it's not like that. It's still as beautiful as it ever was. So, yeah, I have a lot of respect for them.
When you now just mentioned that they use the power data to, get better, in the Vuelta, I believe it was 2015, after you won a stage in quite impressive style, you got some questions and some negative comments and so on. You published all your power data, and it was almost like unheard of until then. You still okay with that decision? And what made you do that? And how was the feedback you got after that?
Yeah, well, there was a Dutch journalist who had some question about, like, okay, Tom, it's 2015. You have never had any big results in a Grand Tour, and suddenly you're almost winning this Grand Tour, and you're in a red jersey and winning multiple stages and so on. And it was a genuine question. We had a bad, cycling had a bad past with all the doping stories, and I think it was a good question. I mean, but then the team decided, okay, maybe. Well, he asked to see my power data, and he wanted to justify if it was correct or not or something. And the team said, yeah, why not? And I also said, why not? I mean, I don't think it's really proof of it. I don't think it's really proof of me not doping at the time. But yeah, I shared it with him, and yeah, I had nothing to be scared of. I had nothing to hide. I still have nothing to hide, so don't read the book if you want a juicy doping story, because there's none in there. But yeah, it's me just being open.
If you could go back and redo one day of your career, you know, you won a lot of races, you were at the top of your game for a long time, but what one day would you go back and change if you could?
I know that one. There's a nice list of riders who have worn all the leaders jerseys of Giro, Tour, Vuelta, who have won a stage in line in Giro, Tour, Vuelta, and who won a time trial Giro, Tour, Vuelta. And I'm missing only one, and that's the yellow jersey. So I won a stage in all three Grand Tours. I won a time trial in all three Grand Tours, and I've worn all the leaders jerseys except for one. And it could have happened in 2015, actually, in stage 3, if I remember correctly, stage 3 to Huy in Wallonie. And there was a huge crash, and it was one of my biggest crashes of my career. And I crashed and I broke my shoulder and I dislocated it. But that was the one day that I could have worn the yellow jersey, and that's the thing missing in my career. So if I could redo one day, it would have been that day, and I would have positioned myself on the left side of the punch instead of the right side.
So when we talk about that one day you would like to change, nowadays when you go out training, are you still feel the need to prove yourself, to go hard, to push yourself, or to suffer, or to outperform your run from last week? Because for me, as soon as I reach a certain level of intensity, my entire body screams at me, are you fucking stupid? Like, we have done that for 33 years. Leave me alone. I don't want to do it anymore. So my body, my mind just shuts down, even on a highway bridge. My body goes, no, I'm not up for that anymore. How is that for you?
Yeah, sometimes I have it. Yeah, sometimes I can I can still push my body. Yeah. Especially when I pin up a number, and that's not going to be any cycling race anymore. But I had a run last year. Also this winter I did a few runs with a number on, and then I completely wreck myself to be the best that I can. So sometimes, but not in training anymore. Not in training. I sometimes like to push myself on a climb or with running or cycling, but I never go into this full red zone, you know. As soon as it hurts, as soon as my lactate goes above 5 millimoles, my body also says no. But in races, small races, of course, but small races, I can still push myself.
Yeah, I mean, push yourself is an understatement. Did a little research, and you've done a 32-minute 10K and a 1:10 half marathon. That's pretty fast. Are you gonna follow up on? Have you done a full marathon yet?
I haven't. No, I haven't. But I want to do one in the future. Yeah, definitely. And like Jens said, then. Or like I told you, I would like to go fast if I do it. So I would like to prepare as good as I can. I mean, I'm not going to be professional about it anymore. But still, if I have this number on, I want to do the best that I can, and so I need some preparation time.
So what would your goal time be for a marathon then? What
Well,
bar are you setting?
I would like to ever be within the 2.5 hour zone. That would be nice. Yeah.
2.5. Okay. Remind me again. How old are you?
33.
Wow, that's impressive. So, to help you out here, I happen to know the people from the Berlin Marathon. We do a bike event together. They do the marathon, Berlin Marathon and half marathon, and also Velo City, where I work together with them. So, if your timing is okay, I think I might give you some help to get into Berlin Marathon, which is one of the faster.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Next year, yes. But
Yep,
this year,
absolutely.
no.
Cool. Yeah, we keep in contact, and I'm
Okay.
going to get you in there.
Yeah, very good, very good.
And I'd be at the finish line for you with a nice
yeah,
warm
yeah,
towel or a cold towel, depending on the weather.
That would be nice.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
What do you know what the fastest marathon for an ex-professional cyclist is?
Wasn't it Olano? Abraham Olano? With like 2:38 or something?
I think
You know?
Jalabert was in the 40s, 2:45, 48 maybe.
Anything
I
sub
think
3, that's pretty
I think
fast.
Olano with 2:38 something or something.
So
I don't remember exactly, but
I have done 10 marathons, but never with a number.
you did 10?
Yeah, but just me and myself, just running. So I was like,
Are you
3.
okay? Are you okay, Yenzi? That sounds a little weird. By yourself,
What do you mean?
you just run out, no number on your back, you just
Yeah.
hit it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Well,
no
of course,
way.
I prepared. One day I had that idea I would run in the Tour de France. I would run one marathon per week. So 1 week.
No way.
Yeah. So because the riders, they suffer like mad. So I can at least suffer a little bit while I'm out there enjoying my Vino Rosso and my French food.
Did you ever time them?
Yeah, but you know, I think 3 hours, not 2, 3:36 until 4 hours. I'm like slowly just moving along, but never that fast. My fastest ever was a half in the city of Vancouver. They have a beautiful peninsula there, Stanley Park, and
Yeah.
there's a flat, nice, perfect lap. But it was 1:28 for the half. And I was all in. I could never, ever go faster than that. So I have the deepest respect for you.
Thanks.
Our producer actually did a little digging, and he said Daniel Atienza. Do you remember Daniel Atienza, Yenzi?
Scissors?
Scissors. We used to
Holy
call him
smokes.
Scissors because I tell you, in the Vuelta, any stage race I was in, we called him Scissors because he would basically just sit up because he was a small climber guy, and he would just cut the peloton in two. So we called him Scissors. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we call him Scissors because he cut the pillar every crosswind section. And you should have seen, if you ever imagine their stress going into the final of the tour, you should seen the crazy fights to be in front of him when there's a crosswind coming. Nobody wanted to sit behind because you know you're doomed, you're lost.
So he did it in 2 hours and 29 minutes. That looks like
Wow.
the fastest. So
Oh, that looks like a goal.
there you go. There you go.
But he was super
we got
small.
ourselves a goal. Next
Yeah.
year, Berlin. 2:29.
Alrighty, cool.
Well, Tom, listen, we've had a great talk. Thank you so much for coming on with us today. Start that training for that marathon. I bet you know, Jens was saying that he doesn't like hurting himself. I call BS on that. He'll probably
No.
set a goal to be right there with you as long as he can. But yeah, good luck with everything that you're doing. So happy to see you happy. You know, when you did retire, it was like, whoa, that's really early for a guy like Tom. You look like you found your way, and just thanks for sharing your story with us and our listeners today.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah,
We have you back next year after the marathon, Berlin Marathon.
Yeah,
We have you
yeah,
back.
exactly. That would be nice. Yeah. All the pressure again. I'm feeling it already.
No, go easy.
No.
And then you can come to my house and sit next to me here. We can do the podcast, both of us sitting here.
Yeah,
because I live
exactly.
in Berlin, so that's easy.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. There will be loads more content popping up here, including more great interviews with top guests like Tom. Keep dropping your questions for us in the comments. And please check our description below to find us on social media and Patreon to support our channel like these great people.